if you're sliding towards something, if it's hard, it's gonna bump up and over it. If it's soft and it can dent, it's gonna catch and it can roll. So think about how that's gonna affect your neck if you go down. Hi, my name's Matt. Welcome to Sen Theory. I've been in action sports pretty much my whole life. Rollerblading when I was 5, snowboarding when I was 8, a little skateboarding, BMX, mountain biking, and now I've been working in the motorcycle industry professionally for over 4 years. And today, we're going to talk about helmets. So let's first go back to the basics. How does a helmet work exactly? Well, a helmet takes a hit, spreads it out over a surface area, and slows the impact down. That's all a helmet is doing, right? If I hit my head on this table, it's all gonna go in one spot really fast. That's why it's gonna hurt. Hit your head on a helmet, it's gonna spread it out, it's gonna slow it down. That's why it's not gonna hurt. So it's all about maximizing the surface area, first of all. So let's get into details of what exactly makes a helmet safe in my mind after learning about all the different brands out there and learning about real people who have gotten in real accidents, who have come back into the shop, shared their stories. What actually makes a helmet safe? First thing, and it's gonna be the number one thing, is the interior shape of it and how well it matches your personal head shape. I see a lot of people that go in with a certain brand in their mind and they're like, oh, I wanna go with this brand, and that's just not the way to do it, because you have to get what works for you, not what your friend recommended, not what you think is going to be best for you, what's actually best for you. So let's cut through all the crud and start talking about that right now. I started with this helmet and it is actually the wrong shape for me. I'd probably never wear it again for that reason. It's also aged out. I just keep it for videos like this. But what I didn't know is I actually have a long oval head shape. So a lot of people always think they're intermediate, or they think they have a big head, and that doesn't necessarily indicate your head shape. If you look at the side of my head, it's all flat. This is a typical American head shape that we see. So you have to kind of know what your head shape is. I can tell by, if you approached me, I'd look at your head and I'd kind of be able to tell what helmet works for you before I even start guiding you to one. But the most important thing is getting that right. So understanding what your head shape is and actually trying on the helmet, seeing how well it contacts around your head. Bell is actually an intermediate wide. So I had huge gaps here that I was not aware of. And again, we're going back to the basics here. When you have gaps, that's not maximizing surface area. It's doing the opposite. So this helmet could have flexed, could have hit me weird, it could have shook, it could have came off my head, because there's not enough friction to keep it on my head. And again, you're not spreading out the interior surface area as much as you could if something was more long oval inside. So now these are my main helmets that I use. Arai actually does different head shapes interior. So the outside generally stays the same. The interior from region to region changes. So this VX Pro 4, this VX Pro 4, this XD4, they are actually called different helmets in Europe and Asia. Same with the Corsair. It has a different name. The XD5, it's now called the Tour 5 in Europe. It's because they're different head shapes. They're reshaping the helmets based on the region to maximize the contact inside, so you get maximum surface area if you take a hit. Arai and Shoei are two of the companies that understand this best. Shoei does the same thing. I just had a friend who went to Europe to get fitted for a suit, a race suit, and he came across the same thing with Shoei. That's what they do. Lower end brands, so, and not necessarily like, Bell does make higher end stuff too, but the lower end helmets, anything like under $300 or even under $500 in most cases, what they're doing is they're taking one head shape and they're mass producing it. So they're using economies of scale rather than tailoring it to each user. And that's a really efficient way to make a helmet. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that either. But the thing is, you have to find the brand that made the head shape that's closest to yours, which can be kind of challenging to do. In this case, I missed the mark. I should have gone to a shop. I should have gotten fitted. I should have learned more about helmets before I bought this. I'm really glad I never wrecked in it. So yeah, head shape, interior shape, most important things, that's maximizing surface area contact around your head, which is going to maximize spreading that impact out. Next thing I want to talk about is the shell integrity. So another thing that makes the helmet very safe is how hard it is to get through this shell. There's this misconception that a lot of people have where you want a helmet that flexes a bit, that flattens on impact, that absorbs the impact. And I agree to some extent, the inside should be absorbing those impacts, but the outside really should mostly be deflecting them. Not so it bounces off the ground. Companies have to balance this. You want something that doesn't penetrate the helmet but doesn't, jar you in any way. A Snell rated helmet, and this is the way I think about it, if you're sliding towards something, if it's hard, it's gonna bump up and over it. If it's soft and it can dent, it's gonna catch and it can roll. So think about how that's gonna affect your neck if you go down. So the integrity of the shell is gonna be one of the most important things, and that's why I tend to go for more premium helmets. That's also another reason why I will never wear this on the street again, because polycarbonate, it's not that it's a bad way to make a helmet, it's just, again, they're mass producing it. Cheaper materials is basically reinforced plastic. So in most cases it's gonna do okay, but for those freak accidents or those more hard impacts, something like an Arai or Shoei, or something carbon, even like the Scorpion XT9000, those are all gonna be way better. But I still tend to go with the Arais, and another reason for that is because leads me into point number 3, the smoothness of the shell. So a lot of people tend to go for this helmet because it has MIPS. I actually tend to avoid MIPS because of my long oval head, and I haven't come across any helmets yet that haven't rounded out the inside of the helmet to accommodate for MIPS. Now, if you're not familiar with what MIPS is, it's basically a slip plate. So if you look underneath this interior, I'm gonna snap this apart real quick just so you can see inside. There's actually a yellow plate in there that's designed to slip so that if the helmet gets twisted, it's gonna mitigate some of that. It's gonna give it a little bit room to move. This helmet doesn't have that, but it does mitigate it in a different way. I believe that what MIPS is going for in terms of mitigating rotational forces should actually be mitigated on the outside of the helmet. So what I mean by that is, if you look at this Arai, everything that sticks out on this helmet is designed to break off. These are cheaper plastic pieces that are designed to just break off. So if you're going off a slide, they'll break, keep the momentum going. They're not gonna jar the helmet. When I see a helmet that has MIPS or some kind of rotational force absorbing technology, and then they put aggressive lines on the outside, that is super counterintuitive to me. So I'm confused here, Bella. Are you trying to make a helmet that mitigates rotational forces, or are you trying to make something cool and just kind of market something that sort of helps? The other issue is a helmet that's mitigating on the outside can mitigate multiple hits that could potentially cause rotational forces. So what I mean by that is, if you're sliding, you hit a manhole cover, and then you hit a speed bump. Motorcycles, sometimes you wreck and you're sliding for a while. You might hit multiple things. MIPS is only really gonna slide once. It's gonna mitigate one impact. What if you have 2? It's not that uncommon. Happens more than you think. So mitigating it on the outside, I just think, is the better approach. You can keep the interior more matched to the rider's head shape. You can still mitigate the rotational forces, and you're not gonna be compromising in sense of interior shape or anything on the outside that can catch. I just think that Arai really has it dialed in, and that's why I tend to go for this brand when I'm looking at new helmets. One of the last things I want to talk about in terms of what makes a helmet safe is the interior materials. Obviously this one focuses on MIPS, but you still see a single density foam, impact foam, or polystyrene built into this helmet. The higher end models like Arai and Shoei, you're going to see multiple ones. Shoei's usually going to be multi-density. They don't always say how many, so I assume it's most cases going to be 2 unless specified otherwise. Arai uses up to 4. We actually have a model on the floor that shows all the different densities. You can't look inside the helmet and see it because it's coated with black paint. And the reason for that is so you can see if it actually took an impact, it's going to compress and show the white polystyrene through. But there are 4 different densities on here. The reason that's important is because if you hit the top of your head, for example, your whole body weight's probably behind that. So they put the least dense foam up there to spread out the impact the most. That's going to have the highest probability of compromising your helmet. But you really need it if you're hitting the top of your head, because your whole body weight's behind that. You need that impact, again, spread out and slowed down as much as possible. On the sides, they're going to be counting more for glancing blows. Usually, a whip effect is going to be a little bit less aggressive than your whole body weight behind your head. So they do a little bit more dense on the side, especially because if you were riding through the woods or something, you hit a tree branch, you don't necessarily want the helmet compressing and compromising over something small like that. So they take all that into an account, but basically a multi-density EPS liner is going to be more effective at mitigating impacts than a single density. So I look for multi-density too. So for me, Arai checks all the boxes. They fit my head shape. They got the round shape on the outside to mitigate rotational forces. They are fiberglass resin mixes, which are very, very strong. They will eventually shear and crack if you hit them hard enough, so they're not just rock solid that are going to bounce and throw your head every which way in a wreck. And they have multi-density EPS liner that will still break in, but it will mitigate impacts way better than something that's just single density. So these check all the boxes for me. They fit me. Once in a while we get people that fit Shoei's better, or maybe the XT9000, things like that. And in that case, again, as much as I'm talking about these helmets, if something fits you better, it's going back to the first point, the interior contact in the helmet, how much contact it has your head, how well it fits your head is going to be the most important thing above all. If you'd like to learn more about helmet fitments and the general shape of each helmet, feel free to check out the links in the description. I put a whole article together on how to properly fit a helmet, what things you should be looking for when you go to try on helmets. And the other article I wrote is a full list of every helmet I've ever been able to personally put my hands on to let you know kind of the general head shape and how they fit. Thanks again for watching. Please remember to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as that notification bell so you don't miss any new content. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. That way I help all of you become better and safer riders, so that hopefully we can all continue doing this for a very long time. Once again, my name is Matt. This is Sen Theory. See you in the next video.